Hex Box, my beloved. You may have been loved by an entire generation, but that has done nothing to stop Chris's hatred for this patriotic, freedom-inducing American-made console. You can spot some early signs of hatred in the Animal Crossing documentary, in which he makes the following remark. Xbox and PlayStation 2, my opinion is the same as yours. They both stink, which just shows Chris's absolute brand loyalty to Nintendo, which only got worse with time. He then makes another remark, stating the fact that he doesn't own either console. Notably, Chris's vitriol also extends to PlayStation, since he was still purely a Nintendo fanboy and meat rider at the time. Chris tried to sell the Xbox games Call of Duty 2 Big Red One, The Chronicles of Riddick, Escape from Butcher Bay, Driver, and Celebrity Deathmatch on eBay, which makes it possible that Chris once owned an original Xbox, though it has been known that he tends to buy games at thrift stores and sell them for a profit. He was asked about his hatred towards the Xbox in his mailbag, and he answered pretty much the same as all other responses. I never cared for the Hex Box, and frankly it lacks heavily in comparison to the Wii and PlayStation 3. Plus, you have to pay their fees to even go online or download demos with it. The Wii and PlayStation networks are free, only costing if you buy the downloadable games. When Microsoft finally get that costly detail long gone, I may reconsider, but in the meantime I rest my case. Actually, Xbox Live has two kinds of accounts. Free accounts can access a large part of the Xbox Live features, such as friend lists, messaging, achievements, and the content marketplace. Gold accounts, currently priced at around $60 a year, can play multiplayer games, use certain premium features such as Netflix, and get weekly discounts in addition to early access to certain downloadable games and demos. Considering $60 is around the price of a single game while factoring in Chris's monthly allowance and his habit of purchasing video games and gadgets on a whim, while accruing thousands of dollars in debt, the price would hardly be a problem for him. It is safe to say Chris's opposition to Xbox Live stems purely from his console war bootlegger mindset. While PlayStation Network lets users play multiple games for free, a premium version called PlayStation Plus was introduced in June 2010. In order to prove how strongly he despises Xbox Live Gold, Chris was spotted in April 2011 using the Plus services. However, the PlayStation 4, the console Chris shelled out for money, requires mandatory PlayStation Plus to play on Live, which is at least $60 for 12 months. Despite being the same price as the Xbox Live hasn't had as many online shutdowns as PlayStation, plus it has better security. Now, Chris's hatred for the console transcends reality itself and continues in his Son-Chu comics. For example, the Hex Box 360 is featured during the elevator gag portion of Son-Chu issue 8. Son-Chu and Rose-Chu are greeted by a depiction of an axe cutting through the console as they travel past the 70th floor of the 4chan sent garbage building. The 71st floor displays a PlayStation Trophy Award for killing that Hex Box. Christian took care to draw a damn red ring around the Hex Box power button, in reference to its infamous red ring of death. In Son-Chu issue 8, Jason Kendrick Howell is shown surveying his evil realm using an Xbox 360 and a pirated copy of Little Big Planet. Later, Chris portrays Alec Benson Leary as the owner of an Xbox 360, though as an actual computer hard drive. Chris as Colossal Chan enters it, deletes everything about the Asperpedia, and then proceeds to destroy the Xbox. In issue 12, a fully Found Myself Xbox trophy is depicted for Reldanak, whereas Comic Chris's achievement is depicted with a PlayStation 4 trophy. Chris also has no idea what a real Xbox 360 is supposed to look like. Most notably, he thinks the console is smaller than a Wii and with the power button on the top end of the console rather than on the bottom end. He also appears to think that an Xbox 360 has 4 unprotected USB sockets directly under the disc tray. As his portrayal of Alex's console shows, a real 360 console has 2 memory card slots at that location, and the USB sockets are located next to the power button under a door. However, the new model of 360s don't have memory card slots, but do have 2 USB slots behind the door near the power button. Now, even after several years have passed since all the major trolling, Chris still hates the Hex Box because on the weekend of 7th of November 2013, Chris was banned from Ruckersville Walmart after he vandalized an Xbox One kiosk with a felt tip marker to read Hex Box 1. He tried writing the manager an apology letter to get his ban lifted, to no avail. On his Facebook page, Chris posted that the last name of the manager was Utz. He also went as far as to actually post this on Human Rights Campaign's page and claimed he has been discriminated against for being autistic and a lesbian, even though it's pretty clear that the moral of the story is not to vandalize store property. He asked the community to demand Walmart to unban him, even posting his address and phone number under the pretense people would actually follow through with his orders, and liked his own post. He did at least admit that what he did was wrong, so maybe there's some silver lining. Chris posted this text on the 4th of September 2014, which, oh lord, I'm not gonna make you read all that text. So TLDR, Chris whines about being banned from said store due to literally vandalizing all of their consoles, and later proceeds to blame everything on the store manager, hating on Chris because he is autistic, lesbian, and a transgender. Overall, a pretty funny part of Christory, which shows off Chris's contradictory lies and how much of a corporate bootlicker he can be at times. Good tier it goes. Son-Chu was the name Chris gave to his car. Chris has driven several cars over the years, all bearing vanity plates simply reading Son-Chu. Now the backstory behind said plates is that since Chris is a huge fan of Transformers, he pretends that his car is a Transformer named Son-Chu, proud Autobot leader of the Quickville, Virginia Autobot squad. He is also my cool sport and escorting car. From his original Wikipedia, it says, "My car is a quick-footed, well-armed 94 escort. His name is Son-Chu, dark blue as vehicle. He holds battery blue-yellow combination colors and strong personality under his hood. He has his plasma pistol, energon sword, and roof shield, and when Decepticons attack, he is the first to show up to the party and leading the Quickville Autobot defense squad. When I'm not in the driver's seat and he has to make his way to the fight, he projects my image in the driver's seat for the sake of his disguise. Transformation details. His roof comes off his vehicle mode to make his shield. His hood pops off to transform into his plasma pistol, energon sword. Stay tuned to watch his transformation in a few days." The reason why the car is named Son-Chu remains unknown. It could be a reference to Full Tilt and or Wipeout, both Transformers with hyphenated names that turn into cars. There have been multiple Son-Chu iterations, the first of which was a Ford Escort. It was a second generation Ford Escort LX. It was the former car of and the hand-me-down from his mother Borb. Members of the PVCC believe that the fact that Chris drove a Ford Escort may be a universal symbol of romantic fail. Chris did not save up his tugboat for a vehicle, deciding he had more important things to spend his money on, despite the fact that sometimes a nice car can lead to getting China to screw. Unsurprisingly, Chris's mother paid for his gas. The next iteration was a Cadillac Seville. According to a Facebook status from February 2012, Chris no longer owned, or at least no longer drove, the previous Son-Chu. Why Chris bought another car and escort Son-Chu's fate is unclear. However, said Facebook status suggests that he may have bought another car to avoid detection by jerk-ops. Considering how many miles the Escort had on it and how poorly Chris maintained it, there's a very high likelihood it was simply no longer drivable and needed too much work to be roadworthy again. Chris likely got rid of that Son-Chu sometime before fall 2011, as according to a leaked email, Chris was driving Barb's Ford Aerostar during the infamous gameplays incident on October of that year. The car was photographed by Google Maps in June 2011, at which time it was still owned by Chris, being at its last public sighting. In September 2013, it was discovered that Son-Chu's Son-Chu vanity plate had been transferred to a white 1992-1997 Cadillac Seville, which Chris posted several pictures of himself driving since 2012. At the same time, Son-Chu was not spotted in the yard of 14 Branchland Court, confirming that it was no longer under the Chandler's possession. The Chandlers did eventually sell the Seville for an unknown amount to another buyer in December 2014. The block damage was repaired and the vehicle was driven for another 2 years and 20,000 miles before being written off in an accident, sustaining significant damage to the front right quarter. After that, it was sent to an auto auction website, Copart, eventually being sold to a scrapper in Richmond for $150 in December of 2016. 2016. The vehicle was allegedly still able to move under its own power, though the aftermarket CD player Chris purchased was missing. A blue Ford Focus was the unfortunate chosen one to be the next iteration for Son-Chu. On the 24th of September 2014, Chris had purchased a used second-generation Ford Focus, implying that the Cadillac Seville may have been sold. Chris paid $9,000 for the Focus, paying over $100 a month. This leads one to wonder how Chris was ever able to afford any new cars at all, let alone 2 of them, when he was now subject to begging for donations and or Legos on Facebook, and also Barb's dental operation. In July 2018, Chris recorded "My car's heating up worse, please buy from my eBay and help." Although fans gave him enough money to get it repaired, it merely prolonged the inevitable. In November 2018, the captain reported that the car's engine was permanently broken. And the final iteration of Son-Chu is Barb's Dodge Caravan, which she owned, the 2002 Dodge Grand Caravan, which had the license plate B Weston. She was seen behind the wheel in "We need money for mortgage now, please." Chris apparently borrowed the car on occasions, possibly for grocery runs. Chris borrowed the car to drive to BronyCon due to Son-Chu being under repair. While on his way home from the con, the car broke down at the Chet's gas station in Belton, Virginia, prompting Chris to beg online for donations to cover tow bill and recorded "Waiting for the tow truck." After the death of Chris's Focus in November 2018, the van became the primary vehicle of both Chris and Barb. Most likely this was a result of both Barb driving less as she entered the geriatric stage, and Chris opting to spend his tugboat money on more pressing matters instead of obtaining a newer, more reliable car. Chris replaced the Dodge's B Weston plate with a Son-Chu one, cementing it as the 4th iteration of Son-Chu. The car with its new plate is visible in the background of a Pokemon Go photo Chris took in April 2019. In August 2019, the day after Chris's 280-mile trip to BronyCon, the car suffered a mechanical issue, and Chris stated, "After starting the van, I'm whammed in the face with sulfuric odor. Ugh." Sylvan and I confirmed there is now something wrong with the air conditioner, so we'll have to check it out at a local auto repair soon. A sulfuric odor could indeed indicate a broken catalytic converter or fuel pressure sensor. This is likely at the cost of hundreds of dollars to fix/replace, and contributes further to the financial crisis. The following month, Barb took the van in for maintenance on a turn signal bulb and was informed that the exhaust and brake system would need to be replaced, costing around $1,000. And obviously Chris took to Twitter to beg for the money. On the 28th of March 2021, denting its trunk door and smashing its rear windshield by backing up into a big rig trailer. He and Barb took it to a body shop to have the trunk door replaced. Chris planned to drive the van to attend the August 2021 Everfree Northwest Convention in Seattle, Washington, which would have been a 41-hour drive crossing mountainous terrain. However, Noel vetoed the plan out of safety concerns and arranged the flight instead. However, the incest call completely derailed these plans and the trip was cancelled. Instead, Chris took his car to a hotel in Richmond, where he parked in a spot where he could wait out a few nights before he could return to his home. Chris was arrested on the 1st of August 2021, leaving the car unattended sometime between then and the 3rd of August. A 4chaner stole the vanity license plate of the vehicle. The van was returned to the Chandler's household around or exactly on the 29th of August, this time with Barb's plate put back onto it. And on the 23rd of November, Barb, not having her son to drive her anywhere, experienced a traffic accident with a tractor trailer. The van got T-boned on its left side with the airbag not deployed, resulting in Barb breaking 2 of her ribs and getting a concussion. The van was totaled and Barb was charged with fail to yield right of way for the incident and a $30 fine and $76 in court costs. The 2014 house fire occurred on the 10th of January 2014 in the early morning hours. A frayed extension cord in the bathroom of 14 Branchland Court, which sparked and set the house fire. Shortly after the fire, leaked emails and Facebook posts from Chris helped set up his version of the timeline of events of that fateful night. What we heard from Chris and what was written in the official fire report obtained months later had some differences. Chris thought that the fire started around 2 AM. However, the official report states that an 911 call wasn't received until 2:44 a.m. This is in line with what the WVAC, which is a Charlottesville television station, reported as well. Chris's timeline of events state that at 2 a.m. that was the approximate time the fire began. Between 2 and 2:10, Chris claimed that a fire extinguisher was present or was retrieved, and there was an attempt to extinguish the fire which ultimately failed. After the failed attempt to extinguish the fire, Chris evacuated the household along with Barbara and the Chandler pets. Sometime during this period, emergency services were called, and at 2:10, local firefighters arrived at the scene. But in reality, the actual timeline of events state that Chris's 911 call was actually received at 2:44 a.m. and that the fire personnel were on scene about 15 minutes later. WCAV stated that the fire started at around 3 a.m. Almost immediately, the fire department asked for additional support to help fight the fire. The fire was put out by 6 a.m. and the scene was cleared by 7 a.m. Later, an email from Chris is released giving more information about the events. It is revealed that Chris and Barbara were allowed to enter the house and retrieve necessities for living from the house, and were currently receiving accommodation from their insurer while investigations and repairs were conducted. Now, there is no official word as to what caused the fire, but cousin Al, the person who leaked several documents related to the fire report, he claimed that it was caused by a spark from an extension cord run through the bathroom door, the plastic coating of which had worn away. Chris was using an extension cord in the bathroom, okay now get this, to plug in a Keurig coffee maker located in the hallway. The cord was looped over the top of the door, and the friction caused by the motion of the door had eroded the cord, starting the fire. Chris claimed that the brewer was off when the fire started, although he did admit that it wasn't unplugged. Why the Chandlers had an extension cord running out of the bathroom to plug in a coffee maker is anyone's guess, but it probably has something to do with Barb's hoarding. It is worth noting that Chris's second video tour of his home, coffee cups are spotted around his bathroom sink, suggesting that the bathroom has become the primary source of water. Said video also shows the blatant fire hazard that was the Chandler home, with piles of paper and plastic inside a barely standing structure of dry wood. I have no comment on the placement of this event. And we've arrived at the end of the video. So yeah, if you enjoyed, maybe consider subscribing, and I don't have much to say except for massive thank you to everyone on the support of the iceberg video. And with that said, goodbye.